Okay, perfect. So, hey everybody, it's really nice to have you all today for the sixth type of Calls for Climate, which are some online events that we're organizing with Climate Connect and organizations that are working to fight the climate crisis. So today's event is about climate education on the topic climate education for all. So the idea is to welcome some local organizations that are working on raising awareness about climate change. So the goal of this first event will be to all the different actors that are working on the thematic to get to know each others, to share what are the different problematics they've been working on, and more important, to extract leads for potential collaboration in the future. Because climate education is really the first pillar to fight the climate crisis, because it's only with people being aware of what is climate change, what are its causes and consequences, that we will really be able to tackle it properly. And even though over the last years there's been a really big amount of actors working on that domain, it's still really important that the whole population will be aware of it. And it's actually, on top of that, pretty unequally spread it all around the world, which sometimes countries who are already facing the most of the climate change effects are also the less aware and the less prepared for it. So that's why it's really important to spread equally the climate change knowledge to all the different places all around the world, which is also a reason why we are trying to create like strong contacts and connections between in developing countries, so we can all be working together into making climate change knowledge being passed through. So today we are inviting, as I said, like different organizations. The event will be decomposed in three main parts. The first one is going to be a small round introductions from all the participants, so you can all have like a different perspective on what the work they're currently doing on the ground, what are the different problematics they're facing. The second one would be really, the second part, sorry, will be really focusing towards like trying to gather all of the different problems that the organizations are having on the ground and what does restrain them into having the impacts that like to be providing. The third, that would be really focused towards collaboration, because as I said earlier, like the point of this event is not to make like a general course about how to raise climate awareness, but really to start building the base for future collaborations that will allow us to tackle the specific problematics that the local actors are facing. So in this part, it will be really about, okay, what we can achieve together, what should be the actions and the work that we should put on to solve the pre-mentioned issues that we have been highlighted. And in the end, we would just finish with like small talk on how we can actually make this work through which tools, because we also want, so this is like currently an event being live streamed. So for also those who watch us, we'd like to welcome you. And we also want to make it interactive with you right now, but also with potential viewers in the future. So if you are being interested into supporting collaboration for climate education, or if you are yourself being active in that sector, you're more than welcome to also get in touch with us afterwards, to also join the different work group that will be working on the different issues that we will have been highlighted in this first event. So I'm done talking for now. Maybe we can just start with the different round table. So Sheila, if you could just go a bit to the next slide. I was thinking then, because Sturban, you've been you've starting to talk a little bit with us in the beginning. Maybe you can start introducing yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Thomas, for that. And can see great things that are, a lot of people now have become aware of what is currently happening because of the so-called climate change and the like. Uh, I'm working with an organization called Action for Nature, where we're trying to spearhead the issues of environmental education. This is where we are working with local communities, schools, and also some clubs that we have actually formed, where we are trying now to sensitize. Because one thing that we've seen and noticed, based on the research and everything that we have done, is based that people don't really understand. They don't know when we talk about climate change. They think maybe they don't know what it is that you are talking about. When you tell them to say shouldn't be cutting trees and discriminatory and all that, they think maybe you're just telling stories and all that. So we have taken it upon ourselves to say let's go into communities, in schools. So what we are trying now to do is that when we sensitize them, we are also trying to get trees and seedlings, which we are now supplying into these schools to help them now plant and be them to actually be stewards over those trees that we are planting. So far, we have connected about 300 young people whom now are working as agents, whom now we believe and trust to say if we now deploy them into different local areas and all that, they have that knowledge and skills that they can take up so that at least we can reach a number of young people. Thereafter, we can also try to see how much can we plant. Our target is to plant 5,000 trees where we can where we know to say these 5,000 trees will be planted in schools. We've actually opted to work with universities and also with primary schools and secondary schools. So this is our mandate, and we know to say if we can manage to get this number of young people, at the end of it, we are targeting to reach about at least 2,000 young people being connected in three different areas, of which now we know, to say this cannot come without challenges and all that. So we are facing some challenge that has made us not to progress as well of the way we projected it, the way we objected to say this is how we should move, because by now we could have at least planted about 500 to 1,000 trees. But due to some, technical challenges and some financial challenges, this is what is actually hindering us from not really reaching to our target. But this is the things that we are working on, and also we are trying to spearhead, because when we look at climate change, the most people that are most suffering the most are the marginalized, which are the women and the young girls and all that. So what we are trying to spearhead now for the social justice and environmental justice, where now we're trying to make sure that our human rights are also respected in these areas, so that we are not infringing people of their rights. Because in as much as we have these resources, we shouldn't. These are so-called investors and all that. They shouldn't take advantage of these people working who are already affected by climate change. Because they are making them now more actually. They are making now them more vulnerable. So this is where we are trying to work around it to see how best we can also bring in the issues of environmental justice, environmental and social justice, to make sure that even human rights are also respected, and to make sure that people are aware of what is it that they should do in their localities. When we tell them to say don't actually cut down trees anyhow, they need to understand why we are telling them to say shouldn't cut trees. When we tell them to say, can you actually, try to venture into other alternative livelihood which are sustainable, they understand it to say because of this. So we are using practical examples, like here in Zambia, we normally, like last rainy season, we received rains so late in such a way that people had their production was low and all that. So we are using all this as more like examples. We're giving them to say why was it like this, and why, as if you look at the way production was way before and now, you find that things are changing. Why is it that things are changing? So we are trying to use all these things and and it's quite awesome that people are now buying in, and they are seem to understand the things that we are doing. Of which, moving forward, we are looking to make sure that we meet our targets, and also make sure that we connect as many as we can, the young people, the women and girls, that we can target in as much as that we have the technical support, and also the financial support, of which we believe to say working together is the most important thing, and collaborating with other organizations is the most important thing that we are looking forward to. And we know to say, if once we collaborate and we move towards the same goal, actually we're able to reach a great height, actually. For now, this is what I can share. I feel if they could be maybe around us who are here attending this meeting who need so much or many more like information, they can actually find me on the same email, which is tabanchuma@gmail.com, or they can actually link me. Actually, I'll be able to share. I think if there is that platform, or they can connect me from the same website, the Climate Connect. Actually, they can actually look through the profile that we've created there. Then they can be able to have more information. If at all they need some more information, I'm available to avail any information that will be needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, like what you do and what you say is like quite important in the way on how also you can combine climate education with also more concrete ground-based actions, such as like planting trees, and how also taking those concrete examples can also be a really good angle to also helps raising awareness. Maybe if we go next, Gurjot, you could also introduce yourself. Maybe because Stulben, you actually also talk about different problems and also potential way of collaborating. Those are like super important points, but we're gonna talk about it into the next part of the meeting. So if Gurjot, you could go a bit more like quickly over like presenting yourself and your organization, that would be
Thank you so much, Thomas. I am Gurjot, and I am from a school in India. I'm basically a computer science educator. However, I take care of all national and international projects in my school. I have a team of around 150 to 200 students who've been working with me, and there are a couple of projects related to climate education, related to sustainable development goals, and that we're working on. I'm also an active member of organizations like Generation Global, that's the Tony Blair Faith Foundation, the Give Something Back International US, or whether you talk to Hamlin Trust, whatever I can do to basically propagate things on environment. La- Around hundreds of projects going on. The major I would like to focus is on the most important. We are working on segregation of waste at source, which I personally feel is the most important thing, which starts from the basis. Se- we are personally working on segregation of e-waste for recycling, collected more than 300 tons of plastic waste in last 2 months, collection of plastic waste, paper waste, and we send it for recycling, which we get back in return is plantable stationery. That is a USP. We get pens, pencils, which can be planted after use. The stubs of the pencils can be planted and they grow into beautiful flowering plants. So the children enjoy using these things. We give them these gifts on different occasions on their birthdays. Then we are segregating the biodegradable waste, not only at school, but are collecting from the nearby societies, from the vegetable vendors, and u- putting it into the aerobins, which we have installed in the school. They make compost in house and leach it. The students, when they get compost, they sieve it, they package it, and they resell it under the entrepreneurship project, which is again working under British government Then the same organic compost which comes out is being used for organic farming. We are planting vegetables in house in the school, which are sold at nearly 50% of the market price to anybody, any of the staff member, any student who wants to buy it. And they are pesticide free, chemical free, purely organic vegetables. And the children are growing it on their own. Every day they are doing that. Have separate dustbins on every floor where the kids can learn where to segregate, so reducing the heaps of garbage. Then we are collecting old clothes, we're getting it stitched into cloth bags, and we are giving back to the children. In case like a child comes with a cloth bag, he gets green points, and then those points are redeemed for the new bag which he buys. If the bag is for 20 rupees, he gets it for 50% of the price. So that's way he knows I have to do a good green deed. For every green deed, he gets green points. So I personally feel the first step is to reduce the heaps, or if not reduce, at least we should not add on to the heaps of garbage that we have in our country, which is rising up day and day. Planting trees is definitely a huge part. Hundreds of trees we are planting on birthdays, maintaining. But this is one major project that we are carrying on out of a number. So I think I quickly wanted to wind up. Thank you for giving me the time.
Yep, thank you for your explanation. I think here again, that's a really great example on how, and especially in your case, like that's really framed around like a school, how to also make it concrete with like concrete projects as like the different ones you've been mentioning, to also couple, technical, abstract climate educations, and also to transform that into some concrete actions that also provides direct benefits for the life of the person, because in the end, that's also what like fighting the climate crisis is about, is to also preserve certain, so outside of course preserving certain ecosystems, you also improve the lives of the different person, and coupling these two to show that actually benefits is extremely important. So these are definitely good leads to use in the future.
Thank you.
Maybe then, if you're done, Cecile, if you can carry on.
You want me to talk more, or anybody else?
Pardon? So sorry, can you repeat?
No, you want me to tell you anything else?
Oh no, I think that's
Okay.
that's fine for the round table, and then we can just ask the next
Sure.
person, and then we'll just go after into the problems and the solutions after.
Definitely. Thank you.
Am I next?
Yeah, please.
So good afternoon, everyone. It's in the afternoon. I'm in South Africa. My name is Spesi Hlepengu. I am from South Africa, Durban, and I'm a co-founder of a public health organization that seeks to educate women and girls on health equity. But recently, we've adopted climate change education for women and girls because we saw the need, a dire need to actually educate them, especially in marginalized and rural communities, because a lot of people actually don't know the impacts and the role, especially when the role that they play in climate change impact. So we recently started with climate action, education, and raising awareness. I'm actually here to learn more so that I can actually get ideas for our organization, because this is actually a new topic for us. My work was just based on gender equality, public health education for women and girls. So this is new to me, but I'm willing to learn from you guys and continue my journey on climate action. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. for your introduction. And yeah, I think that's really interesting and important to intertwine all of these topics together. So that's really great. You're also approaching having like this really multi approach to combine this together. I think that so if Gideon, you still in the transportation, maybe we can also ask Abraham, who just joined us, to also go next. If you want to, quickly introduce yourself and also the work you've been doing. You can take the word now.
Thank you, Thomas. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Gideon.
Okay, good. Thanks. I'm actually in transit, and apologies should you be getting some noise in the background. So I'll just try to make it as short and quick as possible. My name is Gideon Mawenge. I am from Namibia. I am a native of an indigenous community in Namibia, which is called Yoruba Pemba. And professionally, I have been in the agricultural industry for over 12 years now. And at the moment, I'm doing my PhD in policy analysis, focusing on food production. Otherwise, in my capacity today, I am representing the Marginalized MIRA, which is an NGO in Namibia, established looking at food production as well as informing and educating the indigenous communities on climate resilience. So now when we talk about climate education, we are actually talking about a complex web of items, as climate is associated with so many things. And specifically for our focus as an institution, we are looking at indigenous communities in India that are affected by climate. Namibia in general is an arid country, so we really receive good rain. And given that we've been experiencing ceaseless drought over the past years, and hence there was a need, or there is a need, to establish an institution that will help the community to be resilient to climate or to low rainfall patterns that we've been seeing. The indigenous community have been depending on rain-fed fields, and now due to drought, they are unable to grow their crops. And our interaction now is that we establish an institution where we educate and inform the community on food production using irrigation systems, so that even with drought, they would still be able to produce their own organic food. On that note, we engage the community in different aspects, such as education, such as empowering the community in terms of making them able to produce their own food that they eat, and also self-surplus for income generation. That's one of the streams, so that households would have income streams. Because when we are talking about the indigenous people, we are talking about the community that is left behind from all economic activities, and they are also not part of the employed population in the country, and neither are they part of education population. So we are actually faced with all elements across the human development, and human capacity development aspects. We are dealing with. I think it is also now a good opportunity that we are engaging with different organizations here, and thank you to Climate Connect, and in particular Thomas, for connecting us today. And yes, I'm looking forward to engaging with everyone. And once again, my apologies because I'm in transit. Thank you.
Thank you, Gideon. Yeah, sometimes it was a bit hard to hear you, but you Gideon like created like on the platform like already like a project page where you explain already with a lot of details most of the things he already said here, what's they've been working on, what been like the different struggles. So if you had like some questions and wanted to know a bit more about his projects, you can directly have a look on the platform, and you will have most of the answers here. I think then the last one who hasn't been introduced is Abraham. Yeah, can you hear us? Are you here? Can you introduce yourself? Okay, it seems like no remarks from him. So yeah, maybe he's gonna talk a bit later. So quickly, yeah. Are you here?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, now we can hear you.
All right, thank you. I apologize for coming late. I have a bit of a meeting somewhere. So my name is Abraham. I'm from South Sudan, and professionally, I'm a geoscientist, GIS and remote sensing. And I work for humanitarian affairs and disaster management here in South Sudan. So I'm glad to join Climate Connect because when we talk about South Sudan outside there, I think one thing people what comes in mind is South Sudan people are killing each other, the food insecurity, failed state, instability. I think that is what people talk about more, and no one knows that South Sudan is one of the most climate affected regions in the world. And that is why my work regarding climate change is to promote South Sudan, in other words, for people outside there to change their mindset about what they hear and what they know about South Sudan. And we've come up with, as a youth of this country, we join our hands and we come up with an objective to fight climate or global warming in South Sudan context. And our approach is designed to create a broad, sustainable foundation for climate action across the South Sudan. So that is basically why we join our hands and work for climate change in South Sudan. And that is the reason I was chosen by my people, my colleagues, to join Climate Connect. I just did my research and I found Climate Connect, and I was like, let me try my best and see if it is real. And today, Thomas, I'm very happy that you guys can hear me, and I can hear you as well. I would love to say that we are looking for strong partners, and I'm sure with you will have very strong partners to join hands together and fight against global warming, against climate change, against pollution and other harmful effects that our action cause to our ecosystem health. That is what I can say here. Otherwise, thank you so much, and I would like to appreciate everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Abraham, for your kind words. And I think everybody here is on the same line, as we really need to work together to tackle the climate crisis. And yeah, all the work that you are all doing here is really, really important. So I'm really looking forward also to see how we can just work together and combine our efforts to make the most significant impact. All right, so I think that now we could give the word to Anna, if you want to also introduce yourself and your organization and the work you're doing.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Thomas, and thanks everyone for being here. I'm very happy to participate in this discussion today. I am Anna Daddio. I'm a senior policy analyst and thematic lead in the Global Education Monitoring Report team at UNESCO. And as you will see in a while, I will present some work we are doing on climate change education and communication. But the Global Education Monitoring Report is much more than this, is much more than the country profile profiles. We are, for those of you who don't know us, we are a team working at UNESCO, but we are editorially independent from UNESCO. We have been mandated officially to monitor progress of Sustainable Development Goal 4 on education and on education in the other SDGs in the Agenda 2030. And as we have heard today, and for those that are listening, of course, one of the issues that is increasingly prominent is on climate change. And I think one of the difficulty of this issue is that it touches upon different parts of our lives, and so also different parts of the work of the governments, and of course require the work of multi-stakeholders. So just to go straight into the presentation, let me know if you can hear it or if you can see it, and otherwise I will try to adjust. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, perfect. So this is really an opportunity to present this work and to talk about a little bit this work that we are doing on climate change education. So briefly, in 2020, we have added another product to our portfolios, I would say. That is to say, we have started preparing country profiles on themes that are key to SDG 4, so that are keys to education. And either we prepare country profiles on the theme of the report or on other themes that are crucial. And so this climate change education profile is really a part of this. I will talk a little bit more about that, but please look at this short video.
The Global Education Monitoring Report has been informing education action since 2002, but it is so much more than just a report. Alongside its multiple publications, the report team has produced online tools as new global public goods in education. One of them, PEER, was launched in 2020 to monitor national education laws and policies on issues key to SDG 4. With comparable country profiles, it is designed to facilitate policy dialogue. The profiles are prepared by the team and are sent for external review to countries via their UNESCO delegations. In some cases, they are also reviewed externally by academics or organizations, such as the Global Campaign for Education. The information is used to map and monitor the status of education policies and provide a baseline from which to assess trends in the future. There are two types of profiles. First, there are those that focus on the theme of the global report and cover all countries. Profiles on inclusion in 2020 showed that laws in a quarter of countries required children with disabilities to be educated in separate settings. Profiles on regulation of non-state education provision in 2021 showed that 27% of countries have made profit-making illegal in primary and secondary education. Future profiles will address technology in education in 2023 and school leadership in 2024. Second, there are profiles that cover fewer countries but focus on other important policy issues. Profiles on equitable financing in education showed that only 1 in 5 countries demonstrated a strong commitment to equity in their budgets. Profiles on climate change communication and education, in partnership with the monitoring and evaluation of climate change education projects, showed that only 45% of national education sector plans addressed the issue. Profiles are now being developed on comprehensive sexuality education in partnership with UNESCO. Visit the website. Help support the report's Voice for Change.
So just to go on the issue of the peer, we have heard what the peer are about, and I'm here to just briefly introduce you to those on climate change education and communication. You can find the profiles on the web page education profile.org, and in fact monitoring the importance of having this profile is that as you may imagine, and as the community has realized, monitoring is really key to understand better this topic. And but the issue is that in many cases, some of these issues have not many data available. And so one way to really look at what is going on at the country level is first to look at the enabling environment. So to look at legislation and policy strategies on plans that the different countries have set. So it's really the peer, the country profiles, our tool to foster peer learning and policy dialogue through this improved data. And I think this is really relevant to talk about this product, this research today with you. So the profile on climate change, communication and education cover different issues, and we have released the first 20 profiles in November 2021 during the COP26, and another 30 profiles were released at COP27 in early November of last year, and we are preparing another 30 profiles, country profiles on climate change, communication and education for the next COP28. We have partnered to do this work with the Monitoring and Evaluating Climate Communication and Education project, hosted by Sustainability and Education Policy Network at the University of Saskatchewan, and this project is also doing a huge amount of work to build indicators and to work on different strands of climate change education, also in partnership with UNESCO. And the profiles provide a comparative perspective of the progress countries are making on the realization of the commitments in this area. So on Article 6 of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and Article 12 of Paris Agreement, and SDG Target 4.7. It's really important to talk to you about this issue because the profile tackle different points on climate change, education and communication. In fact, each country profile analyzes the context for climate change education, including relevant government agencies, laws, policies, plans, terminology, and budget allocations, climate change education policies, looking also at how countries are delivering climate change education at different level of education, starting from primary education up to tertiary education, but also to adult education. And then there is also a section, of course, on climate change communication that covers, as you know, public awareness, public access to education, and public participation. And the last part of the profile covers monitoring and evaluation. And what we have done, and what you can see on this slide, is that to help identify trends across the country profile, we have developed different measures that can help to support policy coherence and peer learning across countries. And the idea is also to use these measures, these indicators that you may see here, to inform global target setting and benchmarking in diverse regional and cultural contexts. Because as we have heard already from the different speakers, while climate change is something that really should be a priority for everyone. It is different in different contexts, and it is appraised differently by actors and by governments. But the idea of having this profile is really to support increased country-driven and quality climate change education. That having mapped the information for these 50 countries, we have seen that while infrastructure for quality climate change education exists in most countries, meaning in terms of the enabling frameworks of legislation and policies, mainstreaming climate change education across sectors remain largely aspiration, despite countries are increasing committing to this. And you can see that from this, when I say that most countries have some infrastructure to discuss these issues, we mean that, for instance, 90% have laws, policy, or plans that include climate change relating issues to primary and secondary education. 39 of countries have a national level law or policy or strategy focused on climate change education. There are also about 2/3 of these 50 countries that have teacher training plans, including focus on climate change. And increasingly, we have also seen that there is really an increased focus and emphasis by countries on particular groups that are vulnerable or more at risk of being excluded or marginalized, like girls and gender minorities in their climate change and education projects, and 44% targets also indigenous people in their communication on climate change. However, what we have also seen is that very few countries have a budget devoted to climate change education, and that's why we can say that despite progress, this progress in many cases remain inspirational, remain ambitions. So it's very important at the level of governance. We have seen that one of the difficulties of this climate change communication and education is the fact that there are different ministries involved, and different actors, and very often the work that is done on the ground is done by NGOs and non-profit organizations that either deliver education or really take care about raising awareness and information among different people of different ages. So this is really what this idea of developing these new monitoring tools for SDG 4.7 is this one on the peer, but the GEM report has also embarked with the UNESCO Institute of Statistics on the work on national benchmarks, meaning that rather than focusing on more theoretical indicators, we look at what countries intend to or are committed to in certain areas, and this is really part of the greening education initiatives by UNESCO that consist of 4 dimensions. And I would like to tell you that the new webinar for the green education initiatives that cover schools, learners, teachers, and communities, and so may be relevant for your collaborative working and what is done in these terms, will be starting next week. And I may share the link to this meeting with Thomas and others. And there are two indicators that have been proposed for this SDG 4 scorecard for green in education. One is the percentage of schools with green accreditation that is a new standard on which UNESCO is working. And then also, as I was saying, and this is the work that is being done by the GEM report with the UNESCO Institute of Statistics, the measure of national intentions to cover climate change based on analysis of relevant policy documents. And we are also preparing a new document, that will be presented at COP28 on education and the SDG, in particular looking at climate change in the relation with other SDG. And it will be, one part of it will be released at the SDG summit in September of this year. So I would stop here. I took a little bit more of time, and I look forward to your question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think Assad joined last, so maybe you could also quickly introduce yourself, and then we can move on to the next part, which will be about talking and really try to address the different problematics that all of you could be facing for your local action. So Assad, yeah, so first of all, welcome, and if you could just briefly introduce yourself and your organization, that would be perfect.
Just before he introduces himself, I think I saw in the chat a request by Abraham that Dr. Anna could show her presentation later on. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. I can also share the presentation, of course, with you, Thomas, Sheila, and you can share with those that would need it or would like to have it. But sure, yes, for sure, the presentation will be shared. No worry. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, then I think if Assad is not responding, then we can.
Hello.
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, hello, my name is Asadja and I'm from Pakistan, and I'm working as a freelance journalist, but currently I have my own digital website, e-news, environment news. So I am the editor of this website, and basically we are working on environment related issues like climate change, biodiversity, ecosystem, and as you know that Pakistan is one of the more affected countries of climate change. As you know that recently a huge floods and rains affected the different part of Pakistan. So on this point, this is a very important topic for me that I learned from you people, I learned from the experts that I work with you people, jointly with you people, and for our people here in Pakistan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Right. So I guess that now we could go try to talk a bit more about the different problems. Sheila, or maybe unless that's me, we can't see the presentation again. So we sent to you a survey just to try to also do some preparation work ahead. So we started to extract some of the first of problems that you've been mentioning in here. We started to break them down into like departments, which means like categories, problems that could be faced from the different organization. So some that are really related towards like educational content in the way of lacking the educational materials to that will help you like teaching like the different kids or just populations around you. The second one category being communication. So there has been like that's a common issue for organizations that do have the knowledge and wants to raise awareness to people, but they are just simply lacking the connections to populations to do so. So for example, organization wants to work with schools but don't have access to many schools, so they can't educate as many people as they would like to. A third parts category that many of you also have been addressing has been the funding, because especially in certain countries, it's hard to have the proper equipment to do all the courses and the teaching as great as you'll be envisioning it. So if Sheila, you can go on the page about like problems of climate education projects. The next one, the 7, okay, so here has been like the first problems that has been said. What I thought we could do would be to first go over like the first few problems here, for you to say if you agree/disagree with it, and so we can just try to also organize them and try to highlight which are the most important ones. And then after we've been already first through those ones, we can also add and complete with all the other ones that you could be facing and that are not being part into that list. The idea is like from mapping all the different problems that that you can be facing. We will extract only like 1 or 2 in each department, which will be the main problems that we will try to later in the future work on together. So the idea is really to, in this part, to really think, okay, what is the thing that refrained me the most into making the biggest impact possible? And so then in the next section, as I just explained, see what are the solutions we could try to approach on those problematics. So for those who watch us, if you also have some problems, you can also add them into the chat. We will also tell them here and just indicate it here. And also the point is for the people watching the recorded event for it afterwards, to also for them try to think about, okay, am I facing the same problem here? And if so, okay, what has been the solution they've been highlighted? And if they also want us in working in creating a solution, they can also do it afterwards. So that's so that's it for the presentation of like this new part of this event. Maybe we could go first with what we call like education. So maybe first before that, do you think that these 3 categories, education, communication, and funding, are relevant? Would you I either created a new one, or do you think one's missing? Okay, so I think that's we can just carry on with this structure for now. So first of all, and so that's addressed more to like the local organization. One big problem is often the lack of advocacy materials. One, like in the meaning of really like educational content that you can have and use to teach and educate the local population. Is it some problems that some of you are facing that could be interesting? Like if you face that problem, you can just add like on Google Meet, you can send a reaction and just raise like a thumbs up, for example, so we can just have like a global overview of who are the ones that are like facing these problematics. So I think there's been 1, 2. I think Gideon, maybe you said it before, I'm not sure. And among like, for example, you Gurjot or Abraham, because you said you were lacking. Could you tell us a bit more about it? How does that limit you, and what's the type of problems that highlights behind it?
Well, I feel that there's not much awareness as to the level that people should know and should start acting. Probably, the government should take in steps where the common masses, everybody should know. So when not only a couple of people or a student should take action, it should be everybody to work on this. So there should be enough material which can be, given to everybody, and we could share. That's it, I would like to say. Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, but so what you mean here, so in your like for you, is it like the amount of material, like when you say like there's not enough material for everybody, are you talking about like physical materials, or are you more talking about the fact that local organizations just does not have access to enough like knowledge to then pass it by to other? I don't know if my question is clear.
I won't say the local organizations don't have that much, but yes, I feel that much more should be done. It should be like, even if students are working, they go beyond the boundaries of four walls and they propagate it to a much larger extent. And the government should also help them that more and more people can act on the problem of climate change.
Okay, I see. And so for the others, just to be sure that we are on the same page, so would you say that then you have all the knowledge that you need, and it is accessible in a way that you can do everything you want about that, like you feel really competent and capable of just explaining from A to Z to kids or whoever what is climate change, what are its causes and consequences, and make it into a clear way? Okay, yes. So when you say for you that's working, same for Gideon. Okay, so that's actually quite positively surprising, because yes, sometimes when talking to other organizations, they said that they have been lacking some really educational material. But if it is actually not the main problems, so the main problem then you are having, then we can maybe move to the second point of the education problem, which is not having enough capacity, more on the staff oriented, to really be able to do the work, which in other words means lacking staff team members, local supports to properly do those education and raising awareness sessions. Who would also be the person facing that issue? Okay, so
Thomas, sorry for interruption. Maybe I can just quickly pitch in. In terms of support from local communities, I would say it's actually twofold. You would say yes, you can get support, and you can also say no, you would not get support. So from one end, you can get support from people that are having climate concerns at heart and are willing to change the environment they are living in. However, this comes with individual commitment and resources. So if you have people that are willing to support you but do not have means to support, then they would eventually fall out. And that's where an element of funding actually comes in, which I think it's the next to be discussed. But I just wanted to give that perspective to say sometimes the community would want to really contribute, but they do not have means to contribute other than just sitting around and giving their contributions by word of mouth. Thank you.
So yeah, I think you're totally right. Making this this precision in the way, and that's what is more meant with this second problematic here. Do you have enough person, and by person is like qualify and people that can really support you. So this could, if we try to highlight pictures from like a specific an example case. Would be, for example, you have for example, whole schools that you want to educate and teach about climate change, but you just have not enough persons that are qualified to actually go to the different classes and teach all the different students about it, that you feel just understaffed regarding the amount of work that is required.
All right. Thank you for clarity, Thomas. And then I think from a technical perspective, I would say yes, we would need support. We don't have that sufficient capacity to ensure that our outreach or our approach is actually reaching out to our target audience as planned.
Okay. What about the others? Do you also face that problem? Okay, so yeah, apparently not that much. So when we go again, so if we stay in this education category, so which really goes towards again, educational content. Now, so we have there was those 2 points that was coming from the survey. Can you think about any other problems that you're facing, or you also have been facing into the past? Because that's also important. Most of you have been working on these issues for a while now, so you probably had issues before that you managed to solve, but some things that has been at some points you felt has been really restricted. Okay, yeah, then I mean, you can take a bit of time to also think about it. Maybe later on we will get back or find some issues that goes hand in hand with that one. So maybe we can move next to the communication type of issues that some can be facing. So again, here by communication, we mean everything that goes reaching out to the general public. That imagine that then you no longer have issues into the education sector. So you have content, educational materials. You have the staff members and the capacity to raise awareness. But do you sometimes, have you in the past, or are you still right now facing some issues in the way that you're struggling to find people that would like to participate to those education sessions? So Abraham, so you still have your hand raised. I don't know if it's because you want to say something or if it's because you raised your hands before. Okay, so if you lower it down, I would assume. Okay, could you? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, yeah, Anna, I was talking to you, Anna.
Sorry, just to jump in quickly on this, I think it's not one or the other. I think that the issue here is that in many contexts, especially in low resource contexts, or where there are other priorities, or where the process are slow, climate change education, even if it's or climate change, even if it is addressed in policies and legislation at national level, has not always made its way in the curricula at school. And so this means that the process has started, of course, but there are many that are not in schools and that need to know about this. And so that's why when we talk about climate change education, we are not just talking about climate change education, but also about climate change education and communication, because the part on not only on education to adults and to other groups that are not in school is important, because it's a question of continuing raising awareness about the importance of this topic. That's just what I want to say, because all the different streams you have there, education, communication, funding, are critical, I think, are very important. But I think that's why also for the issue is so important to have organizations and communities that are involved at different level, because they need to reach. There is this need to reach out to population and groups that may be excluded from the discussion, and this is not. We know that there is a very high toll paid by girls and other minorities on the issue of climate change. And I think this is really important to keep up this idea on the communication and raising awareness. I see that there is another hand raised, by the way.
Ma'am, I would fully agree with you what you exactly said. I think the need is that yes, we definitely are providing education, but we are not going it. It is not incorporated to the level that it should be, and it is not going to the masses, to the population at large. So definitely, whether it is not being communicated to the extent that it should be. So we probably need to create much more awareness and work together on the same issue, just as you said. uh, that's it I wanted to say. Thank you.
So for you, it's so that's like a problem that's is being faced, but not really just only for your organization. It is because there's this a lack of like a more higher level integration of all the different actors. Then therefore, it's just being limiting so hard the spread of those climate knowledge.
Yes.
And I think again, like that's also where it highlights even more like how important it is important for all like the local actors to also connect together, because if it also lacks this like high level infrastructure, it's also by connecting all smaller actors. Small is like it's small in a good way. It's more like local actors together. Then it can eventually start scaling up to a way that it integrates many more persons. So
Very true. I think that would be great if we could, bring together the local activists and then move on or further and connect with one another. That would definitely help out.
and do you think that this should first be more restricted to organization active on climate education, or that could also be with organization active on all the climate actions that could either be reforestation, recycling, and all of those integrated actions?
Well, I feel it could be any organization for that matter, whether it is active on this platform or any other platform, whether they're working on recycling or planting trees, at least any organization for that matter, we should connect with all.
Because that makes actually a transition also a bit before with the point before, but education in the way that, do you think raising awareness, like really doing like some how to say, like really just classes about what is climate change and what is its causes and consequences, how to act and so on, is enough? Or do you think that could be interesting, and some of you already does, so I think that already answers a bit the question, but you intertwine those raising awareness with some concrete ground-based projects, which can be, for example, in school you make some classes about what is climate change, and then you just couple that with like concrete direct actions with or planting trees, like fighting different wastes and plastics and so on. Like, how do you think it is important for those actions to be combined and intertwined with each others? Jana?
I think that again, working in silos does not help, and especially in this matter. And we see, for example, covering in preparing the profiles that there are in many countries, this kind of example. So school not only curricular activity, but extracurricular activities, and combining education, formal education, with also other example like planting trees or example of recycling, and very so there are greening schools initiative that not only is not only about teaching about climate change. By the way, one important thing to say is that climate change as a word, as a topic, does not exist in many curricula. So very often we find other thing. We see a lot of example covering environment in general, or biodiversity, or issues concerning the earth, or other things in sciences, but very little about climate change as such. So this is another thing. I think it will take ages to talk about this. But on the issue, on the multiple set of activities, I think this is really important, and concern also the way schools are led. I mean, the fact that there are ways to be more efficient from an energy point of view, or the issue of teaching how to set up a sustainable way of eating, or having these school clubs. I think this is really important. Again, unfortunately, is a question of resources, is a question of prioritization, but it's important to talk about that. But I finish here, starting from where finishing from where I start, saying you cannot work in silos in this topic. It's not possible, because it touches upon too many dimensions of our lives.
Yeah, that's just a thumbs up. So I think, yeah, and it doesn't definitely make sense. So people agree with that too. And I think that's actually a good transition. So yeah, so first of all, regarding that specific areas of problems, is there some others that you'd like to mention, talk about? Otherwise, we could go to the funding, because you've been making this transition to it, which is like the different lack of resources. So yeah, if there's first like something you want to add to communication, otherwise we could go to the more like funding related problematics. Okay, then yeah, like something that's on the survey appeared like recurred like a few times, was a lack of like finance and logistical support. Sorry. So would you say, how is it with you and your local organization? Do you really face like financial struggles that have forbidden you to make like a greater impact there too? And if you don't, what could then be the possibilities for you to actually get the fundings or the low resources activities that you can also be using to actually do the work, because that's actually really interesting. If you don't like finance, how do you manage to not lacking any? So yeah, maybe first, who are the ones are struggling finding fundings? Is it something that occurs to you? Okay, yeah, Gideon. I think Assad, if I remember correctly, when we talked before the event, you also said that you were struggling a bit on that sector too, unless I'm mistaken. Okay, then yeah, maybe like Gurjot, like if you don't have this problem, like how do you handle it to manage it?
Yeah, as I was talking earlier, see, post COVID, definitely we've been also facing a lot of financial crisis here in India. Uh, Not able to get the fees. Many parents are not able to pay, and there were a lot of issues. But to overcome, what we did is we have a small enterprise for the purpose of environment. As I said, we have installed two aerobins which have been funded by an NGO, and we're putting biodegradable waste. There is no expenditure involved. The compost which comes out, we are selling off that compost, as well as the leachate, that is the liquid manure which comes out. We package it and we sell it off at reasonable amounts. Whenever we have, open days, we have some functions, some events in the school, when we see people coming in, or our children even go to different malls on quarterly basis, we put up stalls there and we sell off these items. Then, apart from that, on a regular basis, we are producing organic vegetables, which the children are selling at very low prices. So, whatever funds are collected, we further use those funds for different activities where we could, do something good for the sake of hosting maybe a training or hosting an event, or whatever we could do to benefit the climate change or the environment.
Okay, yeah, I think it's really interesting and also really really great to see how like you like with really little investment, your like prior investment, you managed to also build like some financially sustainable like organizations and working actions. I think that could definitely, because some of the I know that some of the other organization that unfortunately couldn't join today has been a bit struggling on those issues too. So I think I would definitely redirect them to you, and like together you could also try to see how you manage to set up those initial fundings to then later on make some to make it like running by itself. And I think it's also really like important, exactly as you're doing, to insert that into a community context in the way that it also helps like the local people and the local organization that to some activities, and then we go again to like cross sectors, but that is not only just doing raising awareness, but also brings different benefits.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely, please. I would love to work with any number of different communities, students, educators, and people from across the globe. Thank you.
Yeah. So for the other, anything else you'd like or maybe you want to answer to that? Something you find interesting, or you have some questions, or anything related to more like the financial aspects of raising awareness? Okay, perfect. Yeah, then so what's in the last department, which is not really one itself, we have been like, yes, some has been putting like some small problematic that we're facing here. So I think the lack of technical support, we approach it already a bit. Unless any of you would like to come up on that point too. Okay, yeah. So then we can go to the second point, which actually we also already mentioned, like the lack of partnership into projects implementation. So that goes, yeah, exactly with the points that we just highlighted right before, and the former ones in creating, like, going away of the silos and try to really onboard all the different actors from like climate actions that will help like multiply the impacts. And yeah, so that's the second, and the third one is also quite related to it. In general, do you think here we've approached like most of like the main important problems and struggles and challenges that you could be facing with or have been facing in the past with your organization? Or is there anything else you think is relevant that can be also something that does not apply with any of the things we've been mentioning, we've been talking about for now, but yeah, some big problems that you think are being worth mentioning here? Because yeah, what we thought could be interesting to do will be like, if you could also either relate to some of the problems here, in the way that if you had to pick up some of the issues that are being declared here, which are in your opinions the ones that needs to be worked on more importantly. This said differently, the next part is more about like the collaborative work. So after this meeting, so we will, I think, especially with what we said now, it's really important that we all try to work together on trying to onboard and bring those different actors together on the local space, like in the scale of the country, but also cross countries. So I think that, yeah, Gudrun? Yeah, oh yes, you.
I would like to add that I feel climate education should not only be a part of education for students, but a part of every training that is imparted to every educator for that matter, whatever subject they might be teaching. But it should be made mandatory by the governments to impart such education, such basically they should impart trainings to all educators across all countries for education on this, so that it can carry forward to the students at large.
Yeah, like I completely agree with that, and it's true that so far some of you being more like working for like in schools to try to educate kids and the younger generations, but that actually goes way beyond that. For example, like Gideon, that's also a bit the case. Like for you, it's like in your communities, not only educating the the young generation. I know that we have also other members, like unfortunately they couldn't join today too, but for example, they are working in more like rural areas, and then the population they're mostly trying to educate are the local farmers, because especially farmers, ones for example in Pakistan, and all of the cultures has been ruined by the different climate change events, and they need to be aware of what causes and also how they can just start adapting to it. So I think this is again like a really relevant example of what you were saying, that it is not only to youth, young generations, but there is many people just already that are facing these consequences. It's also in like everybody's interest to also onboard with them and try to build bridge between all of the persons that are being impacted by these events already happening. Okay. Then anything else any of you would like to add to the more like problems, angle of approach? Otherwise, because I think now we have really kind of highlighted one or two good ideas for future collaboration that we could try to go through. Okay, then we can try to go to the next part, which is really like about like the collaborative work. So here the template that we made actually isn't now so relevant in regard of what's the problems that has been created, because like highlighted, because I think now like there's two main actions which are but also themselves quite intertwined together. But I think like first of all, what always works quite great, so the main goal here would be try to think how we can together set the basis for collaboration in a broader scale between different like climate educational projects, and also going a bit beyond just simply education, as we just mentioned now. So one thing that always worked great is having like blueprints projects. That's actually also something that we're trying to do with Climate Connect. And I think in that regard, Gurjot, that's actually the work you've been doing could actually definitely be a good source of inspiration for other actors, especially when it goes to more like a frame environment such as schools, for example. So I think that could definitely make sense to try to onboard you and connect you with all of the other actors that are working to like in schools, to try to define one or two really specific concrete projects that we know to build from A to B to A to Z, and to really work to try to make that happen and to replicate this project into as many locations as possible. So to go very small with one or two specific projects and try to disseminate them as much as possible.
Definitely, I would love to do that. I can share with you a couple of projects, and probably then you could guide me on what you feel should be disseminated and carried forward.
Okay, yeah. So I think we can definitely organize that with. So we can try to say that after this event we will go through all the organizations. So I'm always thinking with the person that we've been in connect to through the community, but of course we can also make some research and try to onboard like other organizations that are out of the platform, because the more person we have, the better it will be. But for now, first concrete action, there is from what I can remember, there's at least like four or five other organizations that are exactly doing similar work as you do, and so we can try to work together, put you together into discussions on highlighting like a few blueprints projects that does works well, but that have good impacts on the education, but also benefits for the different local communities. So I think that could be a really first powerful angle of approach to start disseminating these type of great initiatives. the second point is what we talked also a bit into this a bit more like abstract on at least higher level, which is about connecting the different climate organizations together with the local educations organizations too. Do you have any idea on how that could look like? What should be some first actions that could be done?
I'm sorry, I could not hear you. If you could say that again.
Yeah, so like what you like another strong point that came out of the discussion was like, yeah, the importance of interconnect the different climate movements and not only talk about like, yeah, climate education, but try to mix that up with concrete activities which can go as like a tree planting, food like a food waste, and how can we then just interconnect those different organizations together, and how could that look like on a very concrete base? Like how can that help the local organizations? Or like, do you think that would make sense to do such thing? I think that's something we already talked about, but do you think that's something we should try to really work hard on it, and that by working together that could have some impact?
Well, I personally feel it will definitely have an impact when we work together. And such activities, beyond only teaching them in climate education in the books, doing such activities would actually involve them much more. Bringing that to action will help it that to create awareness also, and will actually create an impact also.
But so, for example, like so if we just take your specific case, what refrains, what limits you into doing that, and what support, what help do you think would be useful in your case?
The problem which I face is, as far as my individual organization is concerned, is that I feel that it's only a couple of us who are working, because since it is not a part of education in every subject, it might be one subject, the social sciences is talking about climate change, but it should be a part of every subject, and such training should be given to every educator, as I said. So because I do not get support from every educator around, so then I feel the project doesn't get that due importance. The children also, the time gets limited, they get restricted, that yes, they can do this, but then they have their other academic pressures. If it is such that every subject, for that matter, the government implements that in every subject, we have such policies as educators. If we cannot expect the government to do it, we can do it personally. We can connect with educators and let them implement it in their classrooms. Let every educator wake up and connect in their classroom, talk about climate education. So that would help globally.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, so that goes a bit, yeah, to the to the problems of, yeah, lacking qualified people that can just really also embrace that those actions, and just, yeah, that is the being so restrictive to lacking some people to do it. And okay, so one thing, so one thing that's we've been also working on with Climate Connect is like, yeah, to so by creating this community and creating this international platform is to exactly give like a free space for all of the person that are interested and want to get active against climate change. So I think a way that we could start tackle like this issue of lacking of like qualify and winning people to get active could be to first maybe try to rely on the members from the community because there's so many persons like I'm gonna just take the opposite side. Like there's also often a lot of person that actually wants to get active, but they just don't know really where to get started. It's so hard for it's just so hard to find the proper to know what's being doing, what are the organization, what are also the needs, and how we can just support them. And so that's what the whole platform and community is about, to try to really make this bridge between the organization in need of people willing and qualified to go and to act, and the organization that are lacking this this human power. So maybe the first step also that we could start working on would be to really go hard on this specific topic of climate education and try to reach out to the different members that are willing to get active, but just are not being part of any organization yet. So yeah, okay. So finding new qualified person to get involved into these projects, and then secondly also having those also blueprints projects is actually extremely powerful, especially for communications, when you can just reach out to this person and also tell them, okay, there's these super concrete example projects that needs to be worked on, and building this bridge, especially with other organizations working into the climate sector, would definitely make sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So the way I'm envisioning it, how we could start working next together, and so I will just say how I think about it, and of course you're completely free to also interrupt, also offer your own suggestions. Would be that on after this event I'll be creating a first group chat with all the different local organizations, especially active into schools, to create like this blueprint project that we just mentioned. And then we can also have another work group that will be in charge of scouting for some potential like educators that's either been working into schools right now but not being part of a specific organization, or people involved into some other climate organizations, to build bridges between those two organizations, between those two types of actors. Okay. Okay, yeah, Gideon Kajot. Like, the other, like, Anna, for you, do you have like a bit of a high level perspective vision? What would you think about such initiative like ground-based work?
Could you say that again, Thomas?
I was asking to Anna what's
okay. I'm sorry.
Like a higher level vision of climate education and communication, and on your perspective, how impactful and relevant is such type of action?
I think it's really again it's really something that is important. I mean that's why we are here. I think no. I mean once again I like to highlight that it's not possible to work in silos in such issues. This requires the work of communities and other different multiple actors, and that's why I was sharing in the chat some links also to the greening education initiatives by UNESCO, because one of the pillar of the greening education initiative beyond the green school, greening school, greening curricula, greening capacity of teachers and education systems is also greening communities. And just having this kind of conversation and the work on the ground, as you said earlier, among between different actors, between not only actors within the same countries, but within and across countries is very important. One of the things that really matters in this kind of discussion is not only what we are doing, what an organization is doing to improve and enhance climate change communication, education, and awareness, and is also what other countries are doing. I mean, it's very difficult to translate one model to another country, which normally does not happen because, as we were saying before, there is an issue of resources, there is an issue of preparedness that of teachers, there is an issue of which are the groups that are reached out. But I think that combining the work of the government and the work of other actors, it's so important in this case. I really think that looking at the Green Initiative of UNESCO and follow our work on the climate change education profile can help also to have some ideas, because there is no time to discuss all this stuff. But you will see in the profiles that we have collected example of how communities are working with government, not only to deliver education when there are no resources, material, as it was said, learning material in this area, but also how they are working with governments to improve the understanding and awareness of this issue. So it's I think it's really an issue of is not how to work together, but really work together, and that's all, and find really ways to strengthen knowledge in this area, and really it's not just a question of keeping in contact, but really unite the forces to reach the objective that is really important for our planets and not just for the younger generations.
Yeah, and I think that's also why it's really valuable to have like also you you today, because like first of all, just like the greening schools and the green initiative that you mentioned and are like really important because they are also working like super well established actors that are also in communication with a lot of different existing actors, and that's the organization who also needs to reach out to. So together we can just be on board exactly as you were saying, because we are all fighting for the same thing. So
Yes.
that's really important to have this contact.
And I was saying before, there is something that is fundamental, is the enabling framework, the enabling environment. So legislation, policies, strategies, plans are really so important. At the same time, there is a level of implementation. The profile don't discuss how different issues are implemented at the country level. They give example, they don't discuss implementation. But this kind of discussion we have today, or the research we do at UNESCO, in the JAM report and in other institutes, are important because you look at how the enabling framework is really put at work to achieve the objective. And if you think, very often we think about climate change education what is the impact also of climate change on education itself, and what is the impact of education on climate change? There are two aspects that are different. They need to be combined, because as I was saying at the beginning, you can have the learning material to teach about climate change and to educate and to discuss about climate change. And so there is how this education will impact the climate change itself, and how climate change and what is happening impacts the school. If you start by the idea that there is a right to education, you realize that where climate change is preventing young people to go to school, or preventing or destroying learning material, there is another issue that is also how climate change impacts on the right to education. And so that's why all this discussion require really to be boosted and require the work also on the ground.
That's actually a really good speech for like a conclusion speech. You actually embrace like all the different points that are just related to climate education. I think that so at least so for today we've been highlighting at least like two good leads for future collaboration. Is there anything else any of you would like to mention and to approach for this first meeting? Feel free to say. Gudrun.
Just as ma'am just pointed out, that at times one model cannot be implemented in the other country. That is very true. But as far as students and educators are concerned, I feel we can motivate one another. I remember we had probably a couple of months back, had a session with two schools from Taiwan where we talked out about how we are disposing of our waste, and they showed us that they are using the waste from the coffee fields after the coffee beans are collected to make incense sticks and mosquito repellents. They showed the entire procedure, and then they sent us those small packets as samples, as gifts. So that was another way to get inspired. Definitely we cannot implement because we do not have those things here, and they cannot do what we are doing, but for motivating the students, yes, it's a very good way.
Yeah, you're completely right. Like inspiring each others, and also even though like some of the solution, as you said, like are not like replicable, is still like super powerful to motivate and then just bring new person on board and just spread like all of these actions. So that's you completely right, and like that's why we all need to work together and try to reach out to the maximum of person and try to connect with the already existing networks to just bring new forces and to really unite together. So yep.
Yeah, sorry for coming in the house late.
Yeah, it's it's actually like we're about to end really soon, because it's it was like from 12 to 2, and so now it's like about to turn 2. But if you want, so first of all, like this event has been like a live stream and recorded, so you can always have access to it afterwards. And if you want, you can also just reach out to me, because we have noted all the relevant information, and we will send the summary of the call to all the different person interested, which also leads me to say to the different person who are either currently watching us or will watch us in the future. If you are also been interested in participating to the different work that we're going to be doing in the future, that we just talked about right now, you can just contact us through by commenting on the video, or also joining us on the Climate Connect platform, which is climateconnect.earth. And from there, we can also connect you with all the different members and organizations from the platform. And you also be, if you want, you also directly be integrating to the different work groups, so we can really unite together to make the biggest impact. So it was really
yeah, Thomas. Just a moment. Maybe I came late because of the time, because you never indicated the time. Maybe on Africa time, because to me here we are already 12 o'clock, because I was waiting on this particular time, 12 to 2 o'clock. So unfortunately, I know you guys have started this before this time. I don't know, or we are just in together now.
It's like, it was 12 p.m., but it's CET for Central Euro time, but we are all like spread it over like different regions. So that's also unfortunately normal. That's sometimes it can be a bit confusing with the different time zones.
Yeah, but it's okay.
But so if you all like are good with everything we said today, then we can just stop here, and we will definitely stay in touch with other participants here. And also there's been like maybe Shayla, if you can just go on the very on page 4, because there we have the map of all the person that are parts of the part of the we just took just to give the highlights. So here in red, that has been all the persons and organizations that has been or was supposed to join today, and in blue it's also all the organizations on the platform that are being active on the climate education project. So this is just like a visual reminder to show that we are absolutely not alone, and working on those specific issues. That there's really people from all around the world that really trying to make a change, and that's really by connecting together and working together, as we said today, that's we will be able to make a change. So I'm really looking forward to us working together and trying to really bring the climate education and in general climate action to a next level. So thank you all for joining today, and really looking forward to connect with you later and make a stronger impact.
Yeah, Thomas, just a question.
Thank you.
Thank
Hello.
you and bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, hello, Thomas.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, Thomas.
Bye.
Hello.